Hello guys, welcome to another backtesting video. Today I'm backtesting the data of Tuesday 7th November 2023, and this backtesting is being done after the daylight savings in USA has been closed because it's November now. So on November our Asian range settings also changes from 20 to 2 to 19 to 1. Now my Asian range setting is 19 to 1. If I show you this one, right? So my bias for the weekly was bullish. I will tell you quickly. My bias for weekly was bullish, and due to how this last week candle closed, it was making lower highs, lower lows, higher highs, and everything happens here was bullish for me. Here the break of structure happened to the upside. If I show you by marking, this was the break of structure on the daily time frame, and this was the low that caused this high. There was a huge fair value gap on the daily, but until and unless the price shows us confirmation that it's gonna go and fill up the fair value gap, we can't do nothing, right? But on Monday, what did the price show us? It gave a bearish pin bar. My bias going on Monday was bullish, and also there was no news on Monday. So on Monday I was looking for buys. I caught a break-even trade that I will show you in the weekly breakdown video. Whereas here on Monday it gave a bearish pin bar. The market literally gave us confirmation that it's gonna go and fill up the fair value gap. It has higher probability of going and filling the fair value gap. So looking at that information, I went to DXY to confirm it. Even on DXY we can see the market had a fair value gap, which was on Monday the market gave us confirmation that it has higher probability of going and filling up the fair value gap, because nothing is sure in the market, right? So all we can do is put the probabilities in our favor. And on the 4 hourly it was so clean. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, change of character to the downside. Also the 4 hourly, we cannot look for sales until and unless at least the 4 hour or daily change character to the downside. And also on the daily time frame, as we know, the market moves in higher highs, higher lows for bullish, lower highs, lower lows for bearish. So the market was bullish, and now the market can make a higher low, right? Higher highs, and it can make a higher low to then continue heading towards the upside. On the H4, we can clearly see the market change character to the downside, took the previous week high early on the week. So going on Tuesday, my bias was bearish. My bias was bearish for going on Tuesday because of we had a clear target in the market, and whenever we have a clear target on the market and we were trading our daily bias, it was not aligning with our weekly bias, I agree, but the fair value gap was so big, and we know that fair value gaps do get filled in time. So that was enough for me to convince me to take this trade to the downside. So now to fill up this fair value gap, right, and also the DXY correlation was making sense, everything was making sense. So now what I will do, I will watch what happens. Obviously I was looking for sales from this sort of supply zone right here because of how this candle closed. This was the H1 supply, and if I were to mark the M30 supply, this would have been my M30 supply. As you guys know by now how I mark my supply zones, but whatever I mark is irrelevant until and unless the Asian range closes, right? So the Asian range closed like this. So this supply zone I had marked on the M15, I guess. Okay, I didn't even mark that because the price didn't respected that. The price was literally making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. In the lower time frames also, the price was literally going to the downside. The bias was so clear, it was filling up the daily fair value gap. As you can see, this was the daily fair value gap right here. It was filling up this fair value gap right around here. And going on the 15 now let me show you the DXY correlation. Even DXY was making sense to fill up that daily fair value gap to the upside. So it was also a continuation model on DXY. Whereas on GBP USD everything was making sense. Literally it was so certain that it's gonna go down. It was a continuation model. So first I took the trade at this first fair value gap. As you guys know by now, I take the fair value gap trades from 15 minutes fair value gaps. So the first fair value gap on the M15 time frame was not respected. As you can see, price came in, gave us a weak rejection, but this weak rejection, remember, this weak rejection is not enough. We need a weak rejection like this, the price to close bearish. I traded this weak rejection. I was a little bit not patient, and after this candle, in the past this kind of setups has worked, but this rejection candlestick was not clean enough. So, and also I didn't wait for the next candle to go to the downside, right? So this was a low probability trade, so this was a losing trade on Tuesday. But if I had waited for the first fair value gap, which is here, to get filled, first fair value gap, and also this was an auto block inside the Asian range, this supply zone, it is called an auto block inside the Asian range, M15 Asian range. And if I had done that, I would have won this trade. This was a beautiful winner, a 1:6 risk to reward. But overall it was a losing trade. I took it here and I didn't took it here. As this is backtesting, I'm learning, I'm trying to learn, and whenever there is a continuation setup, obviously I have learned that don't chase the market, wait for the market to come to your zones and reject. Wait for the market to show rejection, because if the market is not showing rejection, how will you know that it's going to go to the downside, right? You need to see rejection. The price need to show you that it's clearly rejecting that zone. And also on DXY here, after this rejection on 2 p.m, this was the trade which we want to take. And also there was no news on Tuesday, so it was a high probability day to trade, and the bias was also so clear. My bias was also so clear, and this trade was purely based on filling the daily fair value gap before going to the upside. Okay, so my weekly bias was bullish, right? So this trade was purely based on filling up the daily fair value gap before continuing to the upside and following daily market structure, higher low. While taking continuation setup, wait for the price to enter the M15 fair value gap, and if the first fair value gap is not respected, it has higher probability that it can be respected afterwards, like we saw in this trade. 100% true. This trade was a sign that patience, how much patience is important. This was an auto block made in the Asian range. The price came back, gave us a beautiful 30-minute rejection. Look at this, M30, beautiful M30 rejection right here, and then pretty much continued to the downside. And if I show you price, it eventually went and hit my TP to the T. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trade, right? And also this was, don't stuck to the price action on the one time frame. Always do your top down analysis, because different time frame, different things are happening, right? It was a very simple trade. I traded with my bias. If you are trading with the bias, you don't need to be underconfident. You can have confidence, no problem.